Folks, we are really dealing with a thug in the White House. Today, they sent a letter to Harvard University saying that they are banning any international students at Harvard, and if anyone with a visa, they must transfer in the next 72 hours unless they comply with these directives from these idiots. Well, guess what? A federal judge literally has just blocked them from terminating the legal status of international students. A U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White has made that decision, blocking Trump from terminating the legal status of international students, including at Harvard, all across the country. All across the country as well, plus from arresting and detaining them. This is unbelievable. What was announced by the Trump administration, again, ordering them to comply with this directive that just makes no sense. I just want to quickly go to my panel. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Also joining us is Dr. Nola Haynes, of course, first of all, she's at Georgetown University, and of course, foreign policy expert. No, these people, and we'll be joined shortly by Reese Colbert. Folks, no, these people are literally insane. This is a jihad they have against Harvard. That's what's going on here.
1,000%. The part-time occupant in the White House has something against my alma mater. Sorry, boo-boo, that you didn't get to go there, because, you know, whatever he doesn't get to do, whoever doesn't want to play with him and his toys, then, you know, he wants to break them and their toys. I'm just so over Trump and his little cabal. Every day is something with these people, and it's so petty and it's so childish and it's so obvious and it's embarrassing. Like, I am over these people, but I'm happy the judge stepped in and said, no, slow your roll. You cannot unilaterally, I'm gonna say this word a lot tonight, Roland, unilaterally. I know Trump thinks he's a king, but he is not a king. You just can't decree things by order of King Trump. That's not how it works. I'm going to stop there.
Greg, they're thugs. They're absolute thugs. That's who they are. They're going after Harvard. They're going after Columbia. They're going after all these schools. And to sit here and say, because first of all, 27% of Harvard's students are international. And those are the people who pay full freight. And so Trump is trying to go after the money.
Yes. And, you know, Roland, it's certainly absurd. He's certainly a clown, or as Lamont King calls him, a bozo. Bose, not Hove, but Bose. But the reality is that there's a method to this madness. It isn't in his dissembled, dissolving brain. It's in the brain of Russell Vought and Project 2025. You know, remember, Russell Vaught's the quarterback of Project 2025. Chapter 2 of Project 2025, Executive Office of the President of the United States. Vought elaborates on this absurd, expansive theory of the executive. Basically, the president is a king in the mind of this clown. I'm saying that to say this: the confrontation is the point. The Atlantic just did a long article on Russell Vought, talking about Trump 2.0 and where this is headed. This goes back to what we've talked about so many times, and you've walked through Project 2025, the Schedule F. You know, he's the architect of that, replacing all the staff people in the federal government with loyalists and all that. But in this particular case, remember last week, the Supreme Court ruled, trying to push back, but not completely like they should have, against the idea that a federal judge in one district can make a ruling that would apply to the country. Well, we just saw that. We're seeing that in real time in terms of the importance of that with this ruling. I'm saying all that to say this. Yes, your little boy didn't get into Harvard, Donald. I'm sorry about that with Barron. And yes, as you say, Nolan, as you say, Dr. Haynes, it's petty, it's vindictive. And the deeper approach is destroy the universities, destroy the federal government completely. Not shrink it down where it can drown, like Grover Norquist would say, but literally remake it into a weapon for white nationalism. And remember, in terms of HBCUs, this is always stuck in the craw of those. Like, remember when you covered the story about those white nationalists in North Carolina that wanted to stop out-of-state people from coming? Remember the percentage of international students, and I'm not just talking about continental African students, the percentage of international students at HBCUs is outsized. They're from Nepal, they're from China. This is an existential threat to the intellectual infrastructure of K-12 and university level. They're not going to get away with it in the short term, but make no mistake about it, they are doing this to force a confrontation with the courts, not to try to be nice and avoid one.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what's going on. I mean, so they want this battle. They want this fight. This is what it's all about. Reese Cobra joins us right now. And Reese, I'm telling you, let me be real clear. I don't give a damn about Harvard. I don't.
Yeah, you say that all the time. Every time I hear my Harvard year.
I don't give a damn about Harvard. I don't give a damn about any of these Ivy League schools. But what I do understand is that what they are doing is a precursor to what they want to do to other schools, and HBCUs better take notice.
Well, that's 100% correct, Roland. And to be fair, that's probably why they go after Harvard, because who's going to be that sympathetic of Harvard? It's a bunch of Ivy League educated people. They have massive amounts of money in terms of their endowments. And so they don't necessarily make the most sympathetic cause, even for the average layperson who doesn't agree with what Donald Trump is doing.
But also, Reese, though, if you do go after Harvard and take them down because they have the most money, you know, anybody below them. That listen, you saw the other Ivy League schools that buckled because they can't withstand that level of pressure like Harvard can. So you go after the big fish.
And that's why we have to connect the dots, as you've been doing, or as everybody's been doing so far. This is an opening salvo. Now, how many times have we said that over the past couple of years about what the opening salvo was? It's a test case. And so why not take out the biggest fish that you can take out first, and then everything else crumbles? But the other part of it is just the humanitarian aspect of it. You know, Harvard is powerful. Individuals are not powerful. And so if people have to be worried about being snatched off the street because arbitrarily Kristi Noem with her stupid ass, or whoever, Marco Rubio, decides that they're going to revoke a foreign student's visa status, that it makes them less likely to not only want to study at Harvard, but to want to be in this country at all. Mm-hmm. And so we have made a trade-off through Donald Trump between white South African pro-apartheid peasants and physicists and doctoral students who are from other countries, all because of the priority and the delusional misplacement of value that Donald Trump puts on whiteness. And so this week could not be any more glaring about how wrong the choices this administration is making and how wrong of a direction this country is heading in. Every single thing, when you look at all the choices that are being made and the fake justification for them, this shit is beyond off the walls crazy.
It is.
And what we're dealing with here again, and I need people to understand, and we're putting this in the context because it rightly deserves it. We're dealing with thugs. We're dealing with arrogant individuals. We're dealing with people who do not believe in the rule of law.
Right.
These folk don't believe it, Nola, and what they are in their minds. The only court that matters is the right-wing Supreme Court. And they pissed off at Amy Coney Barrett because she's not falling in line. She's not Clarence Thomas or Sam Alito. And so they've thought, oh man, we got us 6 hardcore. They let go of Roberts because he still pissed them off with the Affordable Care Act. They thought they had 5 solid. Now they mad as all get out because so Trump's whole deal is, yo, I got my court. I can do whatever I want to do because they gonna let me.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And you know, it's really interesting when you are in power. And in this case, we're talking about the Supreme Court. And if you look at Congress, they're really you have to reconcile with yourself. Am I willing to forego my own power in service of Donald Trump? And I think this is one of the things that we're confronting, right? It's people trying to deal with their own situation and their own power, and then also realizing, wait a minute, the seriousness of what we are talking about. You are literally talking about abandoning the rule of law, They already, work their hoodoo in terms of voting. So they want people to be complicit in completely destroying democracy. And when you are in a situation to where you can participate in that, and then you have to say, wait a minute, and you have to really sit down with yourself and ask yourself, is this what I want to be doing? Is this what I want to, is this the legacy that I want to leave? To completely abdicate my own power and service to a megalomaniac, right? So, and I don't know, in all truth, how many Republicans are actually going to have that come to Jesus moment. I'm tired of hearing from people that, well, behind closed doors, they're saying this, they're saying that. I don't care what they're saying behind closed doors. What I care about are their actions. What I care about is what they did last night, with this horrible, big ass ugly bill. There's nothing beautiful about it. So when it comes to the Supreme Court, where we know that that's kind of like the last bastion of hope, they kind of are like the levee walls, right? You really have to confront yourself and ask yourself, what do you want your legacy to be? Do you want all those history books written about you being complicit and completely giving Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, all of them, Stephen Miller, the whole gang, the whole cabal, the entirety of the United States of America? It's overwhelming. It's exhausting because every day it's something. But I will say, just like Trump won, the judiciary has stepped up in many cases to hold the walls of democracy. We'll see if that will continue to happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, Greg, I for all them simple Simons out there who we kept trying to explain why the courts matter, and they listening to these fools, yelling and screaming that they Pan-Africanists and all this little nonsense, and saying, oh, your vote don't matter, and them judges don't matter. Well, guess what? We are literally seeing this thing being barely held together because of judges. And what's pissing Republicans off is conservative appointed judges who kind of believe in the rule of law. And it's driving them crazy that they're ruling against them.
It is driving them crazy. And it's a compelling choice of phrase that you use there, Roland. A white nationalist isn't just a domestic white nationalist. When you talk about something being barely held together, I'll tell you something else is being barely held together, and that's this coalition that is allowing this. The domestic white nationalists, the white nativists, the white American nativists, the white U.S. nativists are America first, for sure. But then you've got the white internationalists. This is what we're seeing with the Afrikaners. Donald Trump wants to set him up as the defender of the white world. So if you're anywhere in the white world, come to America. This is, of course, the fever dream brain of Stephen Miller, his little political cretin in the White House. They want to attract all the white people here as if they can reverse the demographic, which of course they can't. But then there are other elements. Of course, Elon Musk is a pure grifter. That's why we saw him in the White House yesterday, because he wants Starlink in South Africa, and Cyril Ramaphosa and the South African government isn't going to allow any of his business to do that come there without making sure that there's an equitable distribution among the population in South Africa. That's why he's pissed off. Then you have, of course, Steve Bannon, who's fighting with Elon Musk because he's a white globalist and also a nativist. All those elements are there. In this case, you're absolutely right about the courts. As everyone has said, as Reese has said, and as Nola's just said, the courts are the line of last defense. But remember what Russell Vought and what those who believe in this unitary executive theory are saying is that the courts don't matter. So what they're going to do, what they are pushing toward, is open defiance. That's why you saw the judge in Massachusetts with the rendering that sent people somewhere out of the United States. Apparently it was supposed to be South Sudan, but we don't know now where the plane is. And so the judge says, well, they can remain outside of the country, but they must have these cases resolved. They got to have due process. Well, that's a concession, but what it really is an attempt for the courts to say, we don't want to just openly hold you in contempt, because what we think you will do is simply say, we don't care. You see that previewed in Propaganda Barbie. You see that previewed in the Christian soldier Pete Hegseth, the defense, who's having prayer meetings now in the damn Pentagon because he is a white Christian nationalist crusader. You see that previewed when they say that the president and the executive branch simply does not believe. What does that mean? That means the law says this, but the president doesn't believe that the law is correct. When you say don't believe, finally, it underscores the point you just made. You are saying that there is a rule of law, but that rule of law is in your addled, warped, theocratic mind. The head of your law is your imaginary white nationalist Jesus, and that empowers you to do whatever the hell you want. And that is where we are.
See, Reese, when I listen to these people, oh, you have Trump derangement syndrome. Y'all just keep talking about this. I'm like, y'all don't understand. These people are not playing. They are trying to figure out how much can we get away with? How much damage can we wreak in this country? That's the game here. This ain't no time to be playing jokes. These people are deadly serious about their thuggish ways.
Absolutely. I mean, look, they've already gotten generational gains. We said this back when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, and we said that was on the line in 2020 as well. And it's the same thing. What they're playing for now is for keeps. They're not playing for a generation. They're playing for a permanent realignment that will solidify their white minority rule, and more specifically, white billionaire minority rule. Because trust me, those little South Afrikaners that they done brought in, they're going to be out there tilling the fields with the other white farmers that are being displaced by this war on USAID and the tariff wars. And so this is strictly about making sure that they are entrenched and ingrained in every single aspect when it comes to power. That's why they're going after Congresswoman McIver. They're saying, they've already said judges don't matter. They arrested a white lady judge, and she's still facing charges in Wisconsin. Now they've arrested a black woman congresswoman because they figured, who gonna give a fuck about a black woman being already abused by these mass ICE agents, and then turn around and have her power, the power that is vested in her through the Constitution and through her duties and her being an elected official, stripped from her. And so they have strategically, and to their credit, they've been very, very clever about this. They have each time picked their target that will result in the least amount of resistance, that will result in people saying, well, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's what they're doing right now with this Medicaid cuts, with these SNAP cuts. I ain't on Medicaid. I ain't on SNAP. I work for my stuff. I ain't getting no hands out. They know what they're doing. And even though as much as we try to call it out and try to tell people, like, stay woke, like this is what the tea is, people still have their heads in the sand. That's why we had 89 million motherfuckers stay at home when everything was on the line. Not even just trying to undo some of the damage of Trump, which Biden-Harris managed to do, but to try to hang on to some semblance of a country. I know Dr. Carr ain't gonna miss it, but for the rest of us who kind of like the kind of thing, we got a good game going on, shit's canceled. They playing for keeps, like you said, Roland.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.